In the face of life's most tumultuous storms, when the world around you seems to crumble and chaos threatens to engulf your spirit, the ability to remain calm is not merely a passive state, but a profound demonstration of inner strength, spiritual power, and unshakable resolve. Napoleon Hill, in his timeless wisdom, emphasizes that calmness in the midst of crisis is a hallmark of greatness, a quality that separates those who merely survive from those who rise above adversity to claim their destiny. This principle, rooted in the trials of history's greatest minds, underscores that when everything falls apart, when plans dissolve, resources vanish, and even support of those closest to you fades, calmness becomes a crucible in which true power is forged. It is not a reaction to external circumstances, but a deliberate choice, a conscious act of self-mastery that signals to the universe your readiness to receive the rewards reserved for those who endure without breaking. This concept of staying calm when all else collapses is not about suppressing emotion or denying the gravity of the situation. Rather, it is about harnessing the mind's capacity to remain steady, focused, and purposeful, even when the winds of chaos howl and the ground beneath you shakes. To understand this, consider the metaphor of a ship caught in a violent storm. A frantic captain, overwhelmed by fear, thrashes against the waves, issuing panic orders that only deepen the crew's despair, while a calm captain, anchored in clarity and confidence, assesses the situation, adjusts the sails, and steers the vessel to the tempest with unwavering precision. This calmness is not a gift bestowed upon a select few. It is a skill cultivated through discipline, a muscle strengthened by repeated acts of faith in the face of uncertainty. Hill's teachings draw upon the lives of titans like Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Abraham Lincoln, men who stood on the precipice of ruin, yet refused to yield to despair, choosing instead to embody a quiet strength that transformed their trials into triumphs. Edison, for instance, faced over 10,000 failures in his quest to perfect the incandescent light bulb, each setback a blow that would have shattered a lesser spirit. Yet he remained calm, viewing each failure not as defeat, but as a step closer to discovery, famously declaring, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This resolute composure allowed him to persevere where others would have faltered, proving that calmness is not weakness, but a reservoir of power that sustains progress through even the darkest hours. Similarly, Carnegie, Ford, and Lincoln each encountered moments when their world seemed to collapse, financial ruin, public ridicule, personal betrayal. Yet they stood firm, their calmness a testament to their belief in a higher purpose, and their refusal to let external chaos dictate their inner state. This principle of calmness is deeply spiritual, rooted in the understanding that life's greatest tests are not meant to destroy but to refine, to burn away the impurities of doubt, fear, and impatience, leaving only the gold of character and resolve. Hill asserts that infinite intelligence, the universal force that governs all creation, tests every individual before entrusting them with greatness, and it is in the furnace of adversity that this test is most acute. When your plans lie in ruins, when your strength is spent, when even your name is forgotten, the temptation of panic or despair is overwhelming. Yet it is precisely in these moments that calmness becomes your greatest ally. It is the posture of a warrior who refuses to be moved by appearances, a leader who commands not through noise, but through presence, a soul who trusts that the trial is not a punishment, but a preparation. This idea challenges a natural human inclination to react impulsively to hardship, to lash out against misfortune, or to collapse under its weight. Instead, Hill calls for a higher response, to grow quiet, to grow definite, to grow calm. This calmness is not a denial of reality, but a mastery of it, a recognition that the external world, with all its chaos and contradiction, is a servant to the disciplined mind rather than its master. Consider the historical example of Charles Schwab, the steel magnate who faced collapsing markets and dwindling confidence in the early 20th century. While others ran to the press or sought political intervention, Schwab remained still, gathering his team, making calculated decisions, and restructuring his enterprises with a steady hand. His calmness was not passivity. It was a foundation of recovery, a signal to those around him that chaos could not conquer a man who refused to bend. This stillness, this refusal to react frantically, is what Hill describes as the mark of a man entrusted with great things, for it demonstrated trust in universal laws that transcends temporary setbacks. To embody this principle requires a shift in perspective, a reorientation of the mind from the immediate to the eternal, from the visible to the invisible. When the world screams of failure, when friends doubt and resources dwindle, the calm individual listens inward, drawing strength from a vision that remains unshaken. This vision is not a vague hope, but a definite chief aim, a purpose so clear and compelling that it anchors the soul against the storms of life. Hill's teachings emphasize that calmness is not a natural state, but a spiritual one, cultivated through daily practice and reinforced through affirmations that reprogram the subconscious mind. By speaking words of power and purpose, declarations like, "I am calm for I am led," or "I do not shake, I stand," you train your mind to respond to crisis with clarity rather than confusion, with resolve rather than retreat. This practice of auto-suggestion, of repeating affirmations with conviction, is a form of mental engineering, a way to install new patterns of thought that override the instincts of fear and doubt. The subconscious, Hill explains, does not distinguish between reality and command. It accepts what is repeated with emotion and belief, and once accepts a truth, it works tirelessly to bring that truth into being. Thus, when you declare your calmness in the face of collapse, you are not merely comforting yourself, but commanding your reality, aligning your thoughts, actions, and environment with the outcome you seek. This process is not without effort, for the world will test your commitment to calmness at every turn. The voices of fear, doubt, and criticism, both external and internal, will clamor for attention, urging you to abandon your resolve and succumb to the chaos. Yet, Hill reminds us that these voices have no power unless you give it to them. By choosing silence over reaction, by refusing to let fear take the microphone of your mind, you starve it of influence and strengthen your inner authority. This is the essence of spiritual warfare. Not a battle against external enemies, but a conquest of the self, a refusal to let circumstance dictate your state of being. The calm man does not curse the storm. He blesses it, recognizing it as a doorway to growth, a crucible that burns away weakness to reveal strength. This perspective transforms adversity from a threat into an opportunity, a chance to prove to yourself and to the universe that you are worthy of the treasure you seek. The treasure, Hill notes, is not merely material wealth, but the fulfillment of your highest potential, the realization of your purpose, the embodiment of your greatest self. To achieve this, you must adopt the demeanor of a general, not one who barks in fury, but one who commands with presence, whose stillness in the heat of battle inspires confidence and restores order. This stillness is not coldness or indifference. It is confidence, a quiet certainty that infinite intelligence is working through your patience, that your refusal to react impulsively is a signal of your trust in the process. In practical terms, cultivating calmness requires daily discipline, a commitment to practices that anchor your mind and spirit. Hill advocates for the repetition of affirmations, the writing and reviewing of a definite chief aim, and the conscious choice to pause and reflect before acting. These practices are not mere rituals, but tools of transformation, designed to rewire the mind and fortify the spirit against the inevitable storms of life. When you feel the urge to panic, to lash out, or to give up, you must return to these tools, speaking your affirmations with intensity, reviewing your purpose with clarity, and standing firm in your faith. This is not a one-time act, but a lifelong commitment, a daily declaration of war against drift and despair. The man who masters calmness masters reality, for he understands that the external world is but a reflection of the internal state. By governing his thoughts, emotions, and actions, he governs his destiny, ensuring that no storm, no matter how fierce, can uproot him from his path. This is the power of calmness in crisis, the secret of those who rise while others fall, the law that governs the lives of the great. It is not a passive state, but an active force, a choice to stand unmoved when all else collapses, a testament to the strength that lies within every soul willing to claim it. As Hill declares, the man who remains calm when everything falls apart is the man who proves himself worthy of the reward. For in his calmness, he demonstrates that he is ready to carry the weight of greatness without faltering. The principle that lasting success, or the treasure of true achievement, only comes after enduring trials is a cornerstone of Napoleon Hill's philosophy, a universal law that underscores the necessity of adversity as a proving ground for greatness. This concept, which Hill refers to as the test before treasure, asserts that no individual receives power, wealth, peace, or purpose without first being forged in the furnace of chaos, where their character, resolve, and faith are rigorously tested. The idea is not merely motivational, but a spiritual and practical truth, evidenced by the lives of history's most remarkable figures, men like Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Abraham Lincoln, who faced moments of collapse so profound that all outward signs pointed to defeat, yet emerged triumphant because they endured the crucible without breaking. This law of trial preceding reward is not a punishment but preparation, a deliberate design by infinite intelligence to ensure that only those capable of wielding greatness with wisdom and maturity are entrusted with it. The test is not a random occurrence. It arrives precisely when you feel least equipped, when your strength is depleted, your plans are in ruins, and your support systems falter, for it is in these moments of apparent failure that your true worth is measured. Hill emphasizes that what most perceive as failure is not failure at all but filtration, a sifting process that separates those who merely wish for success from those willing to pay its full price. This filtration is why pain must precede progress, why effort often goes unanswered until the soul is ready to receive what it seeks. The trial is not meant to destroy but to refine, to burn away the impurities of doubt, fear, impatience, and weakness, leaving only the gold of resilience and determination. Consider Thomas Edison, whose journey to invent the incandescent light bulb is a quintessential example of this principle. Edison faced over 10,000 failed experiments, each one a potential crushing blow to his ambition. He was dismissed as uneducated, mocked as foolish, and worked in obscurity for years, yet he never wavered. Each filament that burned out, each experiment that faltered, was not a defeat but a lesson, a step closer to the treasure he sought. When asked how he endured such relentless setbacks, Edison replied with unshakable clarity, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This statement encapsulates the mind of mastery, a perspective that reframes failure as preparation, viewing each trial as a necessary test to prove his worthiness for the ultimate reward. Edison's calm persistence through years of darkness demonstrates that the test is not about immediate success, but about the capacity to endure, to remain steadfast when all evidence suggests surrender. Similarly, Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who rose from poverty to unimaginable wealth, faced moments when his empire teetered on the edge of collapse. Economic downturns, labor disputes, and public criticism threatened to unravel his vision, yet Carnegie stood firm, his focus unwavering, his purpose clear. He understood that the treasure of lasting success, whether measured in wealth, influence, or legacy, required passing the fire of adversity without flinching. Henry Ford, too, embodies this law. Mocked for his dream of building an affordable automobile for the masses, Ford faced financial ruin, skeptical investors, and fierce competition. Yet, when markets crashed and critics declared his vision impossible, he held to his definite chief aim, refusing to let temporary setbacks alter his course. His persistence through these trials transformed the automotive industry and cemented his name in history. Abraham Lincoln, perhaps the most poignant example, endured repeated defeats in his political career, personal tragedies, and public ridicule, yet he never bowed to circumstance. Each loss, each rejection, was a test of his faith and resolve, and his ability to press forward with hope and clarity ultimately led him to the presidency, where he shaped a nation's destiny. These men, and countless others like them, illustrate that the test always comes before the treasure, because it is the test that makes a person capable of holding the treasure. Hill explained that power, riches, or success in the hands of an undisciplined individual becomes poison, a destructive force that cannot be sustained. The trial, therefore, is a safeguard, a mechanism to ensure that only those with maturity, wisdom, and resilience are entrusted with greatness. This is why the test often arrives when you feel weakest, when the wind strikes against you, and when your self-belief flickers like a dying flame. It is in these moments that life asks, are you ready to receive what you desire? The answer lies not in your circumstances, but in your response, whether you crumble under pressure or rise with purpose. Hill's teachings reveal that the trial is not a barrier but a doorway, a crucible that burns away what cannot remain, pride, fear, impatience, and weakness, so that only the essential remains. This process is both physical and spiritual, mirroring the way gold must be melted before it can be molded. In the same way, your soul is refined through crisis, revealing the strength that lies beneath the surface. You may feel shattered, anxious, or uncertain, but what survives a fire is your true essence, the part of you that is unbreakable and eternal. Hill offers an affirmation to anchor this truth. I welcome the trial, for I am made of what survives fire. This declaration is not mere poetry, but a weapon for spiritual warfare, a reminder to speak power into your mind when despair threatens to dominate. By repeating this affirmation, you align your thoughts with the law that governs success, proving to yourself and to infinite intelligence that you are ready to carry the weight of your ambitions. The necessity of the test before the treasure also explains why pain precedes progress. Pain, when met with purpose, becomes a catalyst for growth, sharpening your faculties of reason, decision, imagination, and willpower. Without the pressure of adversity, these faculties remain dormant, untested, and weak. Hill draws a parallel to the physical world, where pressure creates diamonds and fire purifies gold. In the realm of the spirit, trials serve the same purpose, compressing your potential into something unbreakable, burning away what is fleeting to reveal what is eternal. This is why Hill urges you to bless the test rather than curse it, to see it as a sacred opportunity rather than a cruel injustice. The man who curses his hardship reveals a shallow belief, a weak desire, or a lack of definite aim. But the man who presses forward in silence proves himself a fit instrument for success. This principle is not abstract, but practical, rooted in the observable patterns of those who have achieved greatness. Hill's studies of successful individuals reveal a common thread. They did not avoid trials, but embraced them, recognizing that each setback was a step toward their ultimate goal. The test is not a sign of failure, but a signal that you are on sacred ground, that you have been called to prove yourself worthy of the treasure you seek. This worthiness is not measured by your comfort or your credentials, but by your ability to remain calm, focused, and purposeful when the world around you collapses. The trial is not a one-time event, but a recurring theme, a series of tests that grow in intensity as your ambitions grow. Each test is an invitation to demonstrate your inner mastery, to show that you can govern your mind and emotions regardless of external conditions. Hill emphasizes that the way you behave under pressure is the report card of your belief. If you complain, you reveal a weak desire. If you drift, you show an aimless spirit. But if you remain calm and press forward, you prove your readiness for the reward. This readiness is what separates the dreamer from the doer, the hopeful from the victorious. The test before the treasure is a universal law because it ensures that success is earned, not gifted. Temporary advantages may come through luck or inheritance, but lasting value requires proof of character. Hill warns that without this proof, any reward will be squandered, for an undisciplined mind cannot sustain greatness. The trial, therefore, is a gift, a chance to grow into the person capable of carrying the treasure without being consumed by it. This growth is not automatic. It requires conscious effort, daily discipline, and an unwavering commitment to your purpose. Hill's affirmation, "I am prepared, I am guided, I am unshakable," serves as a tool to reinforce this commitment, a reminder that the test is not a barrier but a bridge to your destiny. By embracing the trial, by welcoming the fire, you align yourself with the law that governs all achievement, ensuring that when the treasure arrives, you are ready to receive it, not with pride or fear, but with the calm assurance of one who has been proven. This is the essence of Hill's teaching. The test is not your enemy, but your ally, the forge that shapes you into the person capable of claiming the treasure you were born to possess. The concept of a definite chief aim, as articulated by Napoleon Hill, is a foundational principle for achieving lasting success, serving as an unyielding anchor that keeps you steady amidst life's fiercest storms. This idea posits that a clearly defined, written, and daily reinforced purpose is not just a goal, but a spiritual and mental compass, guiding your thoughts, actions, and emotions when chaos threatens to pull you adrift. Hill's philosophy asserts that without a precise aim, you risk becoming a drifter, a person who moves through life without direction, easily swayed by circumstance, criticism, or temporary setbacks. In contrast, the man with a definite chief aim moves with intention, his every step rooted in a vision so vivid and specific that no storm, betrayal, or reversal of fortune can shake his resolve. This principle is not a vague aspiration, but a disciplined practice, requiring you to articulate your purpose with clarity, committed to writing, and declare aloud twice daily, once upon rising and once before sleeping, until it becomes a very framework of your existence. Hill's teachings draw from the lives of great achievers like Henry Ford, whose unwavering aim to build an affordable automobile for the masses carried him through financial collapse, mockery, and doubt, transforming not just his life, but the world. The definite chief aim is your safeguard against the chaos of life, a beacon that lights your path when all else is shrouded in darkness, ensuring that you do not merely survive trials, but rise above them to claim your destiny. To understand the power of a definite chief aim, consider it as a mental anchor, a fixed star in the sky of your mind that remains constant regardless of the tempest below. When wealth fades, when praise turns to criticism, when comforts vanish, it is this purpose that keeps you grounded, preventing you from being tossed by the whims of circumstance or the opinions of others. Hill emphasizes that the man who suffers most in chaos is not the one who has lost money or favor, but the one who never knew what he was building in the first place. The drifter, the vague dreamer, the uncertain soul. These are the first to fall when the ground shakes, for they lack the clarity and conviction that a definite chief aim provides. In contrast, the man with written purpose moves differently. His words are measured, his time is sacred, his actions are deliberate. He does not guess, he acts. He does not react, he responds. His calmness is not accidental, but rooted in the certainty of his direction, a certainty that comes from having defined, refined, and internalized his aim. Hill's example of Henry Ford illustrates this vividly. Ford's dream was not a nebulous desire for wealth or prestige, but a precise vision. To create a motor car so reliable and inexpensive that any working man could afford it. When competitors mocked him, when financial markets crumbled, when critics questioned his intelligence, Ford held fast to this aim, gripping it like a ship's captain grips the mast in a storm. His unwavering focus allowed him to weather the tempest of doubt and opposition, ultimately building not just a car, but a legacy that reshaped society. This is the power of a definite chief aim. It does not bend under pressure. It does not wither in delay. It does not tremble in trial. It grows, becoming a spiritual law in motion that aligns your thoughts, actions, and circumstances with your ultimate goal. The process of establishing a definite chief aim is not a casual exercise, but a deliberate act of mental engineering. Hill instructs that your aim must be specific, personal, and complete, including the object of your desire, the timeline for its achievement, the plan to acquire it, and the service you will render in exchange. Vague desires like, I want to be rich or I want to be successful are insufficient, for they lack the precision needed to direct your energy. A true aim is a burning declaration, one that carries fire and demands action. Once defined, it must be written down, framed, and placed where you can see it daily, serving as a constant reminder of your purpose. Hill advocates reading this aim aloud twice each day, infusing it with emotion and conviction. For this repetition programs the subconscious mind, transforming your purpose from a thought into a command. The subconscious, Hill explains, does not distinguish between reality and repetition. It accepts what is spoken with definiteness and belief, and once it accepts your aim as truth, it works tirelessly to bring it into being. This is why the act of declaring your aim aloud is not a ritual but a strategic tool, a way to seize your wandering attention, discipline your thoughts, and guide your emotions like reins guide a horse. In the hour of crisis, when fear whispers and doubt shouts, your definite chief aim speaks louder, whispering, "This is a path. Stay the course." This voice is not imaginary, but the voice of power, a force that keeps you anchored when the world around you collapses. Hill warns that others may laugh at your aim, dismissing it as fanciful or unrealistic, but their laughter reflects their own lack of purpose, not your folly. Your duty is not to explain your aim, but to obey it, letting your results speak for themselves. The man with a definite chief aim does not need the approval of others. He needs only the obedience of self, a daily loyalty to his vision that grows stronger with each repetition. This loyalty is tested most acutely when progress feels absent, when doors remain closed, and when the world seems to conspire against you. In these moments, Hill urges you to return to your aim, to read it again, to act upon it again, for energy flows where purpose is definite, and results appear not when you beg for them, but when you persist with unwavering direction. The definite chief aim is not just a goal, but a spiritual anchor, a force that transforms pain into momentum and chaos into opportunity. Hill's teachings emphasize that purpose does not perish in pressure. It rises, becoming a shield against distraction and a sword against despair. When you feel no progress, when nothing moves, you must move yourself, returning to your aim with renewed commitment. This act of repetition is not mere routine but reformation. Rewire your mind to align with your purpose until it becomes one with your thoughts, words, and actions. Hill cites the examples of great men like Andrew Carnegie and Thomas Edison, who held to their aims through ridicule, failure, and opposition, proving that a definite purpose is the root of all lasting success. Carnegie, for instance, did not drift when faced with economic sabotage or public hatred. He organized, outthought his enemies, and built an empire because his aim was clear and his actions aligned with it. Edison, too, held to his purpose through thousands of failed experiments, each one a test of his resolve, until his persistence birthed a world-changing invention. These men did not succeed by chance, but by design, by holding to a single burning aim that guided their every step. Hill's command to write your aim, make it clear, and declare it daily is not a suggestion, but a spiritual imperative, a law that demands obedience if you are to rise above the ordinary. The affirmation, "My chief aim is stronger than my crisis," is a tool to reinforce this law, a declaration that your purpose is greater than your pain, your vision more powerful than your obstacles. By speaking this affirmation with intensity, you program your subconscious to reject distraction, delay, and denial, ensuring that your mind remains fixed on your mission. This discipline is what separates the dreamer from the doer, the one who wishes from the one who achieves. Hill warns that without a definite chief aim, you risk becoming a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave and led by the whims of others. But with it, you become a commander of your destiny, a man whose calmness is rooted in direction, whose silence is filled with faith, and whose persistence is fueled by purpose. The definite chief aim is not a static goal, but a living force, one that grows stronger with each declaration, each action, each refusal to drift. It is the anchor that holds you steady when the world falls apart, the compass that guides you through confusion, the weapon that destroys fear. Hill's final charge is clear. You must declare your aim, obey it, and let it shape your life. For in doing so, you align yourself with a universal law that lifts the purposeful above the aimless, ensuring that no storm can derail your journey to the treasure you were born to claim. Faith, as Napoleon Hill articulates in his profound teachings, is not a fleeting emotion or a passive hope, but dynamic, disciplined state of mind that empowers individuals to triumph over adversity when all visible evidence seems to point toward defeat. It is the unyielding belief in your purpose, your vision, and the universal laws governing success, even when circumstances offer no confirmation, no encouragement, and no immediate reward. Hill's concept of faith is not about waiting for favorable conditions or relying on external validation. It is about cultivating an inner certainty that infinite intelligence operates in harmony with your definiteness of thought and persistence of action, regardless of the storms raging around you. This faith is not born but built, forged through daily repetition, spoken affirmations, and an unwavering commitment to your definite chief aim, making it the cornerstone of mastery over conditions that would otherwise break the spirit. Hill emphasizes that the true test of faith comes not when prayers are answered or when the path is clear, but when the heavens are silent, when setbacks pile high, and when doubt whispers that your efforts are in vain. It is in these moments of darkness, when the bank account is empty, when friends turn away, and when your name is forgotten, that faith becomes your greatest ally, transforming obstacles into opportunities and silence into strength. This principle is vividly illustrated in the lives of great figures like Abraham Lincoln, who faced repeated defeats, public ridicule, and personal tragedy, yet refused to bow to circumstances, declaring instead that he must believe first, and belief would make a way. Lincoln's faith, built through persistence and an unshakable vision, carried him to the presidency, proving that faith is not a passive wish, but an active force that shapes reality. Hill teaches that faith is not about seeing the evidence, but believing before the evidence appears, and continuing to believe after it seems to vanish, a process that requires daily discipline and deliberate practice. To cultivate this faith, you must speak aloud, not as poetry, but as a decree, using affirmations like, "I believe in myself, I believe in my vision, I believe that infinite intelligence watches over all who persist with purpose." These words, repeated with conviction morning and night, are not for comfort, but for conquest, programming the subconscious mind to accept your belief as law, aligning your thoughts, actions, and environment with your ultimate goal. The subconscious, Hill explains, obeys tone, repetition, and definiteness, not fleeting emotions, making it essential to declare your faith consistently, whether you feel it or not. This act of speaking faith into existence is a form of mental engineering, a way to install new patterns that override fear, doubt, and the temptation to drift. Hill's self-confidence formula, a series of declarations to be spoken daily, serves as a shield against the voices of negation that arise in crisis, ensuring that your belief remains steadfast even when the world contradicts it. Consider the example of Thomas Edison, whose faith in his ability to create a practical incandescent light bulb sustained him through 10,000 failures. Each failed experiment was a test of his belief, a moment when he could have succumbed to despair or doubt. Yet he chose to declare, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This unwavering faith, spoken and acted upon, transformed his setbacks into stepping stones, proving that faith is not about immediate results, but about the persistence to believe beyond the logic of the moment. Similarly, Andrew Carnegie instructed his men to speak well of composure and faith even when their circumstances suggested otherwise, a practice that turned ordinary men into millionaires by design, not chance. Hill's teachings make it clear that faith is not a luxury but a necessity, a force that must be planted, watered, and spoken daily to avoid dying from neglect. Without this daily reinforcement, faith withers, leaving you vulnerable to the whims of circumstance, but with it, you become a commander of your destiny, unmoved by the tides of doubt or the winds of delay. The affirmation, "Infinite intelligence is not ignoring my prayers. It is testing my faith," is a powerful reminder that what appears as rejection is often refinement, a prelude to the reward that comes to those who endure. This refinement is why faith must be active, not passive, a deliberate choice to walk by vision rather than sight, to trust in the Lord rather than the appearance. Hill warns that the most dangerous time in your journey is not the beginning, when energy is high, or the middle, when tests are expected, but the moment when you are closest to breakthrough yet feel furthest from reward. This is when most abandon their faith, mistaking delay for denial, but the man of faith refuses this weakness, choosing instead to speak belief into the air, to command his mind, and to expect his reward. The affirmation, "I do not depend on the evidence of sight. I walk by the evidence of belief," becomes a spiritual weapon, a declaration that you are not ruled by conditions, but by conviction. This conviction is what magnetizes the people, circumstances, and events needed to fulfill your aim. For faith, when consistently spoken and acted upon, becomes a creative force that reshapes reality. Hill's emphasis on repetition is critical, for faith is not a one-time act, but a daily discipline, a muscle strengthened through consistent use. By declaring your faith aloud, you train your subconscious to accept it as law, ensuring that your actions align with your vision, even when the world suggests otherwise. This is why Hill insists that you must never let a day pass without speaking your faith, for each declaration is a brick in the foundation of your success, a step toward making your belief permanent. The man who believes when others doubt, who commands his mind when others drift, who persists when others quit. This is the man who sees where others stumble, who walks where others falter. Hill's teachings draw a stark contrast between faith and convenience, noting that convenience never lifted anyone to greatness. Faith, in contrast, is built in fog, forged in the absence of recognition, and sustained through the silence of unanswered prayers. It is the inward certainty that infinite intelligence rewards persistence, obedience, and definiteness, even when the external world offers no proof. This certainty is what enabled Lincoln to rise from repeated defeats to the highest office in the land, what allowed Edison to persist through thousands of failures, and what empowered Carnegie to build an empire despite economic sabotage. These men did not wait for signs. They created signs by continuing to believe, to act, and to speak their faith into existence. Hill's call to action is clear. You must take back your authority from circumstance, from fear, from drift, by declaring, "I am the one who believes when all others doubt. I am the one who commands his mind. I am the one who is being prepared." This declaration is not a boast, but a spiritual oath, a commitment to govern your thoughts and emotions with precision, to refuse to be swayed by the noise of the world. The power of faith lies in its ability to move the subconscious, to influence the mastermind, and to attract the resources needed to fulfill your purpose. But it requires daily maintenance, a refusal to let old doubts or past failures drown your spirit. Hill warns that the man who only believes when conditions are favorable has no faith at all, only convenience, and convenience is a weak foundation for greatness. True faith is active, decisive, and relentless, a force that does not waver when the tide goes out or the wind turns against you. It is the belief that conditions are servants, not masters, and that your vision, when held with definiteness, will bend reality to its will. This is why Hill provides affirmations like, I command my mind, I speak my faith, I expect my reward, to be spoken when you feel empty, delayed, or lost, for each repetition reinforces your dominion over circumstance. The man who rules conditions is the man who refuses to be ruled by them, who walks forward with decision, knowing that faith before sight, faith before ease, and faith before applause is a chain of creation that leads to results. Hill's final charge is a call to action. Have you spoken your belief today? Have you reminded your mind who is in command? If not, begin now. For faith is not a feeling but a decision, a choice to believe even when the world calls you foolish. By declaring your faith daily, by aligning your thoughts with your purpose, you become the architect of your destiny, a man whose belief forces proof to appear, whose calmness in storm signals his readiness for the reward. This is a faith that moves mountains, not by shouting but by marching, a faith that cannot be broken by delay, a faith that transforms you into one of the few who rise while others retreat. The power of stillness, as Napoleon Hill articulates in his transformative philosophy, is not a passive state of inaction, but a profound expression of spiritual strength, mental mastery, and unwavering confidence that enables an individual to stand unshaken when the world around them collapses. In the midst of chaos, when plans unravel, resources dwindle, and the noise of fear and doubt threatens to overwhelm, stillness emerges as the unmistakable mark of a person who trusts in universal laws over fleeting circumstances. Hill teaches that this stillness is not the absence of motion, but the presence of precision, a deliberate choice to remain composed, focused, and purposeful, even when external conditions scream for panic or impulsive reaction. It is the posture of a general on the battlefield, unmoved by the cannon fire and chaos, calculated with clarity, while others falter under pressure. This principle, rooted in the lives of history's greatest achievers, reveals that stillness is a force that confuses adversaries, silences critics, and aligns the forces of infinite intelligence in your favor, signaling to the universe that you are a person of authority, ready to receive the rewards reserved for those who refuse to be swayed by appearances. Hill's concept of stillness challenges the natural human tendency to react frantically to crisis, to shout against hardship, or to flail in despair when plans fall apart. Instead, he calls for a higher response, to grow quiet, to listen inward, to command your mind with a presence that radiates strength. This stillness is not weakness or indifference. It is dominion, a quiet certainty that your trust lies not in the shifting winds of fortune, but in eternal principles that govern success. Consider the example of Charles Schwab, the steel magnate who faced crumbling markets and evaporating confidence during economic turmoil. While others rushed to newspapers or sought political salvation, Schwab remained still, gathering his team, making deliberate decisions, and restructuring his enterprises with a steady hand. His stillness was not stagnation but strategy, a refusal to let chaos dictate his actions. It was this composure that birthed recovery, proving that the storm honors the calm man, not the anxious one. Hill's teachings emphasize that stillness is a signal of trust in the process, a declaration that you do not need to see the entire path to take the next step, nor do you need to explain or beg for validation. It is a posture of one who knows that infinite intelligence works through patience, that silence is not empty but loaded with power, and that composure in crisis is not denial but dominion. To embody this power of stillness requires a fundamental shift in how you perceive and respond to adversity. When the world screams of failure, when friends doubt, and when resources vanish, the temptation is to mirror the chaos, to react with urgency or despair. Yet, Hill asserts that your emotional state must not reflect your conditions. Your inner stillness must master your outer turmoil. You are not designed to be reactive, swayed by every gust of misfortune, but reflective, rooted in a purpose so deep that nothing external can uproot it. This rootedness is what allows you to move only when the time is right, to speak only when your words carry weight, to act only when your actions align with your vision. Hill provides an affirmation to anchor this principle. I am calm, for I am led. I am still, for I trust the process. I do not shake, I stand. This declaration, spoken daily until it becomes your spiritual armor, aligns your heartbeat with your vision rather than your fears, transforming your presence into one of leadership and authority. The power of stillness is not about avoiding the storm, but walking through it without bending, a quality that Hill observes in the lives of men like Thomas Edison, who stood silently watching his factory burn to the ground, only to declare, "No, I'll rebuild it better." This response was not born of panic or anger, but of presence, a stillness that refused to let fire destroy his purpose. Edison's example illustrates that stillness is not coldness, but confidence, a quiet certainty that no external loss can extinguish the inner flame of purpose. Hill warns of the temptation to act impulsively, to speak quickly, or to retaliate blindly as the work of drift, disguised as necessity, urging you to abandon your composure for the sake of urgency. Yet, the man of stillness delays the impulse, waiting for the inner law to confirm the next move, knowing that the devil always attacks through haste. This discipline is what separates the commander from the coward, the builder from the drifter. Hill's teachings draw a vivid contrast between the weak man, who must keep moving to feel alive, and the powerful man, who moves only with precision, his stillness a testament to his trust in the law. This trust is what enabled men like Andrew Carnegie to outthink their enemies, to organize in the face of sabotage, and to build empires when others saw only ruin. Their stillness was not a lack of action, but a surplus of intention, a refusal to let noise drown out their purpose. To cultivate this power, Hill advocates a daily practice of affirmations and reflection, a commitment to pause before acting, to listen before speaking, to plan before moving. This practice is not about passivity but about precision, ensuring that every step you take is aligned with your definite chief aim. The affirmation, "I remain unmoved," spoken when fears knock and doubts shout, becomes command to your subconscious, reinforcing your authority over your mind and emotions. Hill emphasizes that the subconscious responds to repetition and tone, not fleeting feelings, making it essential to declare your stillness with intensity, to let your voice carry the weight of conviction. This repetition rewires your mind, transforming stillness from an occasional state to your natural identity, a quality that defines you even in the fiercest storms. The power of stillness is what allows you to become the structure when the world loses its form, to become the plan when your strategies falter, to become your own foundation when support disappears. Hill's philosophy reveals that the stillness is not a luxury but a necessity, a discipline that must be practiced daily through affirmations, reflection, and deliberate action. When others run, you walk. When others scream, you speak purpose. When others fall, you stand. This is the essence of stillness as Hill describes it. Not a cold withdrawal from the world, but a confident engagement with it. A refusal to let external chaos dictate your internal state. The man who masters stillness masters reality, for he understands that the storm is not his enemy, but his proving ground, a space where his trust in the law is tested and his strength is revealed. Hill's historical examples reinforce this truth. Men like Schwab and Edison did not weep louder than they believed, nor did they shake louder than they planned. They responded, not reacted. Their stillness a fruit of discipline that allowed them to rebuild stronger, to rise higher, to achieve greater. This discipline is what Hill urges you to adopt, to make stillness your natural state through daily practice, to train your mind to wait before acting, to speak only what aligns with your purpose, to move only when guided by your vision. The affirmation, "My presence carries the energy of leadership," becomes a tool to reinforce this discipline, a reminder that your calmness is not a weakness, but a strength under spiritual control. Hill warns that the world may perceive your stillness as inaction, tempting you to believe you'll be left behind, but he counters that the world honors the man who moves deliberately, not frantically. The calm man in collapse is trusted in restoration. The still man in loss is trusted in leadership. This trust is not accidental, but earned, a reflection of your ability to govern your mind when others lose theirs. Hill's final charge is a call to embrace this power, to let the storm rage while you remain unmoved, to speak your affirmations until your subconscious accepts them as law, to stand as a beacon of order when chaos reigns. The man who remains still in crisis is not defeated, for he cannot be moved by appearances. He is led by principle, guided by purpose, and destined for greatness. This is the power of stillness, your inheritance as one who refuses to react, who chooses to respond, and who proves through composure that he is worthy of the reward.